welcome to this edition of the Primetime Newscast in the English language on Canal International. We'll begin with our top stories. Today is Good Friday, which is significant in Christianity as it commemorates the crucifixion of Jesus Christ and his death on Calvary. It is a day of reflection, repentance, and mourning for Christians worldwide. And a gang of four specialized in attacks and rape are presently in gendarmerie custody. They were caught last March 23, 2024, following an intelligence report and complaints from victims. And the British government has unveiled plans to step up measures of biodiversity conservation in the Congo Basin, which remains one of the major landscapes in the world. Those are major stories. Details right ahead. Good evening once more and welcome to this edition of the Primetime Newscast in the English language on Canal International. And today is Good Friday, which is significant in Christianity as it commemorates the crucifixion of Jesus Christ and his death on Calvary. It is a day of reflection, repentance, and mourning for Christians worldwide. The sacrifice of Jesus is believed to have atoned for humanity's sin, offering salvation and reconciliation with God. It marks the culmination of the events leading up to Easter Sunday, which celebrates Jesus' resurrection, demonstrating victory over death and sin. And concerns amounts as Evangelical Church of Cameron Parish in Diwam, a village, a Yabasi, stands in ruins or raising doubts over whether Easter festivities will take place amidst the church deterioration state. More on the story with our reporter Gladys Ambodiba.
As Easter approaches, the Evangelical Church of Cameron's Parish of Diwam, located in the Voribele canton in Yabasi, faces a sober reality. The church building, ravaged by a tornado, stands in disrepair, with sheet metal torn away, walls cracked, and overrun by bush. This Holy Week, the church elder stands alone, fulfilling the role of evangelist for the handful of Christians who still gather on Sundays.
As you can see, everything has been dilapidated. We now find two Christians who come to church. The closest pastor comes here once a month for service. So in the room, we can't organize baptisms and marriages.
According to local account, the glazed the church after the death of Papa Mbebi Ndilok Jacques, the parish first evangelist who diligently cared for the church during his lifetime. Residents like Sebastian Kemga expressed urgency, fearing that without intervention, the church will continue its decline, becoming uninhabitable even for worshippers.
This church had many followers, but with the bad state, they have all run away, and we are calling on religious authorities to assist our church.
Absence of Easter festivities in the Diwam village will certainly raise the dire need for attention to the current state of the church, as the community awaits action from the leaders of the Evangelical Church of Cameroon. Concerns grow over the fate of this once vibrant place of worship, now teetering on the brink of abandonment.
And we take you to Garoua in the north region of Cameroon, where excruciating heat waves is making Ramadan difficult for Muslim and the population. Temperature in the Muslim-dominated north has reached 43 degrees centigrade. The population are having tough times to fulfill the third pillar of Islam, which consists of staying away from food, water, the whole of the for a period of 1 month. Saleh Sharifa completes that story.
11 a.m. in Garoua, the sun is at its peak. Temperature reached 43 degrees centigrade. Fasting and heat don't go well together for the Muslim.
I am not able to work 3,000 francs a day. With the sun, people don't really work around. Fasting, coupled with the excruciating heat, is very impossible to produce something consistent. We just put more efforts to work because we don't have any option. Otherwise, this period is really a productive period.
Inhabitants spend their days mostly in homes or under the trees, looking for solutions to circumvent the heat. Straw hats and wet clothes, including several other tricks to overcome the scorching heat.
As from 10 a.m., we stop everything without any work done. We find ourselves under trees. I spend all my time sleeping and taking my bath because the sun is just too much.
Others take refuge on the banks of River Benue. Visibly, the air circulates at good density.
We are obliged to fast because it is the third pillar of Islam. No matter the heat and electricity outage, we are obliged to fast.
The weather forecast still predicts heat waves for the month of March and April, as the Muslims still have 10 days to break the fast.
A gang of thieves specialized in attacks and rape are presently in gendarmerie custody. They have they were caught last March of 2024 following an intelligence report and complaints from the victims. The Konglak Elik Ezwa Omispo or neighborhoods were their zones of operation. More on that report with our reporter Beatrice Ngam.
This catch by the gendarmerie was guided by an intelligence report alongside complaints from victims. And on the 23rd of March 2024 at around 3 p.m., the gendarmerie post at the Central Post Office were able to get hold of all 4 young boys between 17 to 25 years.
Have the habit of identifying their victims, follow them up, and around Kansi, Longkak at the stadium, aggress them, seize all their belongings, and then rape them.
These victims say she and rapist met at a corridor. When he removed knife, she quickly handed a handbag and content, a telephone and 500 francs, thinking that was what he wanted. But instead, he led her under threat to an unfinished building, dragged and forced her to undress. Taking advantage, he raped her.
Me menace, commence à me demander de me déshabiller. C'est là qu'il profite de moi. Il m'a violée.
This second case was in the neighborhood. A grand frère, elder brother, she knows so well. He sent her to buy soft drink. She bought and handed him at his home, where he convinced her to share. Taking a sip, she saw herself going off while he was tying her hands and feet. She only recovered lying on the floor. In both cases, the victims were warned they will be eliminated if they are exposed. While one stayed quiet, the other, after narrating ordeal to the sister, they then told their mother, who informed the gendarmes. The gendarmerie in the process were also able to collect 20 drumsticks of Indian hemp, 7 knives, what they used to attack and threaten victims, and other accessories. The investigation's over. Acknowledging their crimes, the presumed rapists are to appear before the public prosecutor for further procedures.
In Cameroon, the employment situation for adults with autism remains dire, with approximately 40% never having secured paid jobs despite efforts from various sectors, including the Ministry of Employment and Professional Training, identifying and integrating individuals with autism into the workforce continues to be a significant challenge. More info in the story.
Statistics reveal a stark reality. There is no adult with autism that has had a paid job in Cameroon, shedding light on a pressing issue that demands urgent attention. Experts, including those from the Ministry of Employment and Professional Training, grapple with the inability to effectively identify and integrate individuals with autism into the workforce. This critical dilemma took center stage at a conference that held in Douala on March 28.
On remarque que l'insertion socio-professionnelle,
The employability of persons with autism is still a nightmare, especially in Cameroon. Through conferences like this, we express our concerns as parents, especially in areas of training and building skills in such children. We even had a person from the Ministry of Employment who went around and could not identify any persons with autism working in any company, which is a sign that the problem is crucial. While organizations and medical professionals advocate for rapid professional integration of individuals with autism who have undergone training and acquired relevant skills, parents emphasize the importance of training and adaptability in the job market. The issue is with identifying children with autism at an early stage. You have parents who are confused and who have health personnel who can't still identify children with autism. And when they get to specialized schools at a later stage, it becomes complicated to build skills, and employability becomes a problem too. However, the journey towards employment faces numerous obstacles, notably delayed diagnosis. Regrettable, many children with autism are diagnosed late due to the failure of parents and even healthcare professionals to recognize early signs and symptoms, hindering their competency development for future employment opportunities. The scope of the issue extends globally, as it is estimated that approximately 25 million people, constituting 1% of the world's population, are affected by autism spectrum disorder.
And the British government has unveiled plans to step up measures of biodiversity conservation in the Congo basin, which remains one of the major landscapes in the world. Experts say the inclusive management of forest resources with different stakeholders playing their role, which is a key to local development and empowerment. The new measures of protection and conservation were emphasized upon this week in Yaoundé. More with our reporter, Aisincha.
The Congo Basin is one of the 6 landscapes in the world chosen by the British government to intensify the fight for the preservation of biodiversity and mitigating effects of climate change. The axis of the project unveiled during this workshop in Yaoundé on March 27, 2024. An initiative geared towards boosting government actions in line with preserving biodiversity and bringing all stakeholders on board. One of the major objectives is to reduce the biodiversity loss and reach the 1.5 commitment of the global warming greenhouse issues and reducing poverty in terms of enhancing local people's livelihoods and promoting a culture of peace, entrepreneurship and inclusiveness in the management of natural resources.
From December 2024, agricultural goods that get into the European market must comply with EU regulations to ensure the goods were not produced in violation of forest regulations and human rights abuse. Recently, stakeholders of some key sectors are concerned met to evaluate and define compliance statement. More with our reporter, Kijang Henry Atembe.
Actors from the different concerned sectors like cocoa, coffee, rubber, cotton, banana, palm oil and timber, with the support of the Worldwide Fund and Pro-Forest, recently met in Bankomo on the outskirts of Yaoundé to define a statement of compliance or non-compliance with EU regulations for each of the sectors concerned. In 2019, within the framework of its fight against deforestation and climate change, the European Union took an engagement to implement certain measures to fight deforestation, degradation and traceability. The stakeholders examined the EU requirements for each of the sector, identified all gaps in compliance with regard to the EU regulation. The initiative is in line with the National Development Strategy 2020 to 2030 to boost production and attract foreign currency. We are here to evaluate the different exports from Cameroon within the perspective of EU compliance. We want to check what has been done so far. Prior to the EU compliance requirements, a number of initiatives have been undertaken by some organizations to address some of the issues raised. This EU initiative is coming to support government's action to fight deforestation. Evangelical is ready to comply with the regulations. These include Committee of Sustainable Cocoa, Rainforest Alliance Certification, Africa Sustainable Commodity Initiative, and the Africa Palm Oil Initiative. It must be recalled that by December 2024, all these products that get into Europe do not contribute in deforestation and must not abuse human rights.
And Gabon is intensifying efforts to secure 854 billion francs CFA in their treasury values for the 2024 financial year, aiming to boost economic development through vital infrastructure and social spending. The country's Minister of Public Accounts has taken the initiative, presenting Gabon's offer on March 28, 2024. The Gabon official unveiled the country's annual strategy to potential investors in Cameroon. Gladys Amodibang completes that story.
From the 854 billion francs CFA, Gabon is seeking to develop the country and stimulate growth. 425 billion francs CFA are expected to be raised from assimilable treasury bonds, while 430 billion francs CFA from assimilable treasury bills. It is therefore turning as usual to Cameroon in pursuit of this capital on the treasury securities markets. This move underscores the country's urgent need for increased social spending to uplift the construction of vital infrastructure to stimulate growth, generate wealth, and improve the living conditions of its citizens.
We want to catch up with investments because we consider that our country lacks roads, bridges, health facilities, schools, universities, and more. That is why we need much money to develop our economy. We want to acquire equipment that will foster growth, the production of wealth, and improve the livelihood of the population.
Gabon's presence in the financial markets, initiated by CEMAC authorities spans around a decade, during which it has successfully raised over 6,500 million francs CFA. Notably, 4,500 million of the amount raised is attributed to assimilable treasury bonds, while 2,000 million stems from assimilable treasury bills. With a commendable track record and a commitment to transparency, Gabonese officials are confident that these factors, along with others, will continue to attract investors.
You observe that for the past 10 years, Gabon has raised more than 6,500 billion CFA. We have also engaged in the transparency policy, meaning to re-establish more confidence in our investors. We pay our debts as usual every August 30. This clean record attracts more trust in our investors, and they will see that we raise the money for the right purpose.
The call for investment spans across public and private institutions, banks and individuals targeting assimilable treasury bills and bonds in a bid to accelerate the nation's progress. These investors are encouraged to participate with a minimum subscription amount of 1 million, offering reimbursement rates ranging between 5.5% to 8.25%, with installment extending until 2033. Gabon remains steadfast in its commitment to leverage these funds for sustainable growth and prosperity.
And that's how we saw it in this edition of the Primetime Newscast in the English language on Canal International. Thanks so much for watching. We're coming up next is The Brief with Matthew Fangwa.